Hello students, this is Zinali Shah from Saraswat International Academy. In last lectures, we have studied regarding the first two stages of sexual reproduction, which are pre-fertilization events and fertilization events. We have studied that in pre-fertilization events, two processes occurs. One is gametogenesis, that is formation of male and female gametes, and we have studied that how male and female gametes are formed in a flowering plants. The second step is the gamete transfer, which we have seen that in flowering plant it occurs by the process of pollination. We have also studied regarding the second stage of the sexual reproduction, that is fertilization. And in flowering plants the process of fertilization is a double fertilization process. Today we will begin with the post fertilization events, which means all those processes which occurs in the flowering plants after the process of fertilization have taken place. So what processes occurs in the post fertilization events in the flowering plants? So first thing which occurs is PEN, that is primary endosperm nucleus gets converted into the endosperm. Secondly, the zygote develops into the embryo. Ovule gets converted into seeds, and finally ovary gets converted into fruits. So these are the changes which occur in the flowering plants after the process of fertilization. So first of all we will study the formation of the endosperm, and as I told you, the endosperm is formed from the primary endosperm nucleus. Now the endosperm formation, it precedes before the embryo development. The reason is that the embryo, the developing embryo will require the food, and the food will be provided by the endosperm. So basically the endosperm formation starts a little prior before the development of the embryo. Now this endosperm can be formed by three ways. So one is the nuclear method, next is cellular, and finally the halobial one. So we will study each and every method of the endosperm development. So first of all, the development of the nuclear endosperm. So here what happens? The primary endosperm nucleus, it divides into two without the cell wall formation. It means only the nuclear division will take place. There won't be the formation of the cell wall. Now, these two newly formed nuclei undergo subsequent mitotic division, which results into the formation of the free nuclear endosperm. So, this endosperm consists of only the nuclei and cytoplasm surrounding them. It does not consist of the cell wall. Now, these nuclei may either remain free or it may later become separated by the walls. So, what is nuclear endosperm? Whatever primary endosperm nucleus is there, it undergoes mitotic division, which is not followed by the formation of the cell wall. So, many nuclei will be formed. So endosperm is totally nuclear. In later stages, the cell wall formation may take place. And if the cell wall formation takes place in the later stages, then this cell wall formation begins from the periphery. That is very important. If the cell wall formation starts in the later stages in the nuclear endosperm, that it compulsorily will form from the periphery. That is very important. Examples of the nuclear endosperm are Coccina, Capsula, and RHS. Now the next one is the cellular endosperm. So what is cellular endosperm? So here the primary endosperm nucleus will form the two nuclei, which immediately leads to the formation of the cell wall. So that is the main difference between the nuclear and cellular endosperm. In nuclear we have seen that the nuclear division takes place, which is not followed by the cell wall formation. Whereas in the cellular endosperm, first of all, primary endosperm nucleus divides and forms the two nuclei, which immediately forms the cell wall. Now this two nuclei further divide, and that are also followed by the formation of the cell wall. So that is the cellular endosperm, which means primary endosperm nuclei, it undergoes the nuclear division, which is immediately followed by the cell wall formation. The examples are Edoxa, Helianthus and Scoparia. Now, the final one is the halobial endosperm. Now, this halobial, it is an intermediate between the nuclear endosperm and the cellular endosperm. So, here what happens in the halobial type of the endosperm formation? So, here primary endosperm nucleus first of all will move towards the base of the embryo sac, and there it will divide into the two nuclei. First of all, what happens? Primary endosperm nucleus, it moves towards the base of the embryo sac, where it will divide and form the two nuclei. Now these two nuclei are separated by a wall. That is, they lead to the formation of a cell wall. Now as they are separated by a wall, it forms one large micropylar chamber and a small chalazal chamber. So first of all, the primary endosperm nuclei, it moves towards the base of the embryo sac, where it will divide and form the two nuclei. Now these two nuclei are separated by a wall. So it results in the formation of two chambers. The larger chamber is a micropylar chamber and a smaller chamber is a chalazal chamber. Now the nucleus which is present in the micropylar chamber, it undergoes the free nuclear division, which means the nuclei present in the larger micropylar chamber, it undergoes the nuclear division, which are not followed by the cell wall formation, whereas the nucleus of the chalazal chamber may divide or not. Now suppose if the nuclei of the chalazal chamber divides, then it leads to the formation of the cellular endosperm. That is very important. So in the halobial endosperm formation, first of all, primary endosperm nuclei, it moves towards the base of the embryo sac. There it will divide and form the two nuclei. These two nuclei are separated by the wall, which results in the formation of the two chambers. The larger chamber is called as the micropylar chamber and the smaller chamber is called as the chalazal chamber. The nuclei present in the micropylar chamber undergoes free nuclear division, not followed by the cell wall formation. So, whatever endosperm is formed in the micropylar chamber, it is a nuclear endosperm. Whereas the nuclei which is present in the chalazal chamber, it may divide or may not divide. If it divides, then it leads to the formation of the cellular endosperm, which means the nuclear divisions are immediately followed by the formation of the cell wall. So here half of the endosperm is free nuclear and half of them is the cellular endosperm. Example of the halobial endosperm possessing plants are Hydrilla and Vallisneria. So diagrammatically we will see how the endosperm formation takes place. So see here, three diagrams are given here. The first diagram is of the nuclear endosperm, second one is the cellular one, and the third one is the halobial endosperm. Here you can see that the central cell is the primary endosperm nucleus. Now in the nuclear endosperm, it divides and results in the formation of the two nuclei. These two nuclei does not result in the formation, that is, nuclear division is not followed by the cell wall formation. They further divide by mitotic division and it forms the endosperm which is free nuclear, which means it is not immediately followed by the cell wall formation. In later stages, the cell wall formation may take place, and as you can see here, the cell wall have been formed in the peripheral nuclei. Central nuclei are the free nuclei which does not have the cell wall. So that is regarding the nuclear endosperm. Then the cellular endosperm. So here primary endosperm nucleus divides and forms the two nuclei, which is immediately followed by the cell wall formation. So here in the central you can see that there is a formation of the cell wall. Now these two nuclei further divides by mitotic division, and each division is immediately followed by the formation of the cell wall. So you can see that each of the nuclei is surrounded by a cell wall. So here finally all the nuclear divisions are immediately followed by the cell wall formation. So this is a cellular type of the endosperm. And finally the halobial type of the endosperm formation. Now see, the primary nuclei, it have moved towards the base of the embryo sac. There it divides and forms the two nuclei. This is one nuclei. At the basal portion there is the other nuclei. And in between them this portion is a wall formed between them. So here two chambers are formed. This larger chamber is micropylar one and the lower smaller one is the chalazal chamber. Now see, the nuclei of the micropylar chamber undergoes the free nuclear division. That is, only nuclei are formed which is not followed by the cell wall formation. And if the chalazal cell divides, here you can clearly see that the chalazal nuclei divides and it is immediately followed by the cell wall formation. So here you can see half of the endosperm is a free nuclear one and half of it is the cellular one. So these are the various types of the endosperm. Here also you can clearly see the type of the endosperm formation: free nuclear one, cellular one and halobial one. Here only free nuclei are there. Here there is a formation of cell wall, and here there are two regions. At the basal portion cell wall and the upper micropylar cells, they have the free nuclear division. Now certain examples of the endosperm. So we know, we all have used the tender coconut. So in tender coconut, whatever coconut water we use, it is a free nuclear endosperm, and the surrounding white kernel in the tender coconut is nothing but the cellular endosperm. So in the tender coconut, the coconut water is a free nuclear endosperm and the white kernel is the cellular endosperm. Now, very important thing, if the endosperm is completely consumed by the developing embryo, that is, if the developing embryo totally utilizes the endosperm, then whatever seed will be formed later on after fertilization, that seeds are called as the non-albuminous seeds. Example: pea, groundnut and beans. And suppose if the endosperm is present, that is, if the endosperm is not totally utilized by the developing embryo, then those seeds are called as the albuminous seeds, and examples are castor, coconut, etc. And whatever endosperm is remaining, that will be later used during the process of the seed germination. So that is very important. So if the endosperm is completely utilized, those seeds are called as the non-albuminous seeds, and if the endosperm is not completely utilized, then those seeds are called as the albuminous seeds. So that we have studied regard the endosperm formation. We have studied endosperm formation prior to the embryo development, because embryo will be formed only if the little endosperm will be formed, and then there will be the subsequent simultaneous development of the embryo as well as the endosperm. So now the next one is the embryo development. We know that embryo will be developed from the zygote. So this embryo will be formed at the micropylar end of the embryo sac, because it is the region where the zygote have developed. Now Zygote divides only after the certain amount of the endosperm is formed. Very, very, very important. Zygote division will start only after certain amount of the endosperm is formed. The reason is because the developing embryo requires the nourishment, and this nourishment will be provided by the endosperm. So, zygote divides only after the certain amount of the endosperm is formed. Reason is it is an adaptation to provide the assured nutrition to the developing embryo. Now, though the seeds differ greatly, we know that there are two types of the seeds. One is monocotyledonous seeds and another one is the dicot seeds. But the early stages of the embryo development in both the types of the seeds are similar. So, though the seeds are in the monocot or dicot stage, but the stages of the embryo development will be similar in both dicots and monocots. So, when zygote divides, first of all it forms the proembryo, then it forms the globular embryo, then the heart-shaped embryo, and finally a mature embryo will be formed. So, the zygote undergoes the subsequent mitotic divisions and it results in the formation of different types. That is, the first division leads to the formation of proembryo, which gets converted into the globular shaped embryo, heart shaped embryo, and finally the mature embryo. So these are the various stages of the embryo development. The first figure, this complete figure, it is of the fertilized embryo set, where here the zygote, this is the zygote developed, this is the primary endosperm, nucleus developed, and whatever antipodals are present at the chelazal end, they will degenerate. Now this complete structure is a structure of how the embryo will be developed, and it is in the dicot plant. So here this is zygote. Zygote first of all divides and form the two cells. Now this results in the formation of, this basically is a proembryo, this is a globular embryo, this is a heart-shaped embryo, and this is a complete mature embryo. Now, what are the difference between the dicot embryo and the monocot embryo? So, the dicot embryo, it consists of the embryonal axis and the two cotyledons. So, a dicot plants, they have two cotyledons and the embryonal axis. Now, part of the embryonal axis above the cotyledons, it is called as epicotyle. Cotyle is cotyledon, epi means anything above, something. So, whatever region of the embryo which is present above the cotyledons, it is called as the epicotyle, and it will terminate into the plumule or it will form the stem tip, which later will form the shoot system of the plant. And the region below the cotyledons, it is called as hypocotyle. Cotyle is a term related to cotyledons. Hypo means below something. So the region below the cotyledons, it is called as the hypocotyle. Its lower end, the terminal lower end of the hypocotyle is the radicle or root tip, which gives which gives rise to the root system of the plants. And the root tip is covered by a protective structure which is called as the root cap. So that is regarding a dicot embryo, which consists of the embryonic axis and the two cotyledons. The region of the embryo above the cotyledons, it is called as epicotyle, which will develop the plumule, which later forms the shoot system of the plants, and the region below the cotyledons is called as hypocotyle, which terminates into the radicle or root tip, which finally forms the root system of the plant. Very important to note here is root tip is always covered by the root cap. Now, the monocotyledonous embryo. Name itself suggests mono, once, cotyledon. So, the plant which possesses the one monocotyledon. Now when we talk about the grass, which are a monocotyledonous plants, so here in grass the cotyledon is called as the scutellum. So in grass the cotyledon is called scutellum, and this scutellum is located towards one side of the embryonic axis. Now the lower part of the embryonic axis is the radicle, and this radicle is protected by a sheath which is called as the coleorhiza. So the part of the embryonic axis at the lower region is called as radicle, which is protected by a sheath called as the coleorhiza, and the region above the embryonic axis is called as epicotyle, and this epicotyle have a shoot apex which forms the stem and few leaf primordia which will form the earlier leaves of the plant, and this complete epicotyle is surrounded by a sheath which is called as the coleoptile. So that is regarding the monocot embryo, which consists of only one cotyledon. In grasses, that cotyledon is called as the scutellum, and this scutellum is located at the one side of the axis. The lower end of the embryonic axis is radicle, and it is enclosed in a sheath which is called as coleorhiza, whereas the part above the embryonic axis is epicotyle, which is enclosed in a sheath called as the coleoptile. So that is regarding the different types of the embryo, that is monocot embryo and the dipot embryo. Now regarding the seeds, we know that post-fertilization events include four things: conversion of the zygote into the embryo, primary endosperm nucleus into the endosperm. These two stages we have seen. The next one is conversion of the ovule into the seed. So here we begin with the next part, that is the seed. So basically these are the final products of the sexual reproduction. Seeds when dispersed give rise, they germinate and give rise to the new plants. So how can we define a seed? Seed is the fertilized ovule, and basically they are formed inside the fruits. Now, a mature seed has three parts. One is the seed coat, then is the embryonic axis, and next one is the cotyledons. Now, these cotyledons, they are thick and swollen because they consist of the food. So, cotyledons, they are thick and swollen structures as they store the food. Now, seeds may be albuminous or non-albuminous as we have studied. So, what are albuminous and non-albuminous seeds? So, those seeds which have no residual endosperm, because the endosperm is completely consumed during the embryo development, such seeds are called as non-albuminous seeds, which we have already studied. Example, pea and groundnut. And albuminous seeds are those seeds which retain the part of the endosperm because the endosperm is not completely utilized during the embryo development. Example is wheat, maize, barley, castor, etc. Now, very important thing to notice is there are some seeds where the remnants of nucellus are also persistent. That is, in some seeds, certain parts of the nucellus are also present. So, such seeds where the residual persistent nucellus is present, it is called as the perisperm. Very important thing. So, whatever remaining nucellus is there, that remaining nucellus is called as the perisperm. Now, the next one is the seed coats. So, basically we know that ovule is surrounded by the integuments, and it is the ovule which is converted into the seeds. So, now whatever integuments are present in the ovule, that integuments then becomes the seed coats. So, integuments, they become the protective seed coats. We know that in the embryo sac micropyle is also there. So, micropyle, it remains as a pore into a seed coat which facilitates the entry of oxygen and water in the seed at the time of the germination. So seed coat possess a seed pore. Basically that is a micropyle, and it is through this pore where the oxygen and water enters in the seeds at the time of germination. Now, as the seed matures, the water content in them is reduced and finally they become dry. In such seeds, the metabolic activity will slow down. Embryo will become inactive, and this phase is called as the dormancy. So, as seed matures, water content in them is reduced and finally the seeds become dry. In such seeds, the metabolic activities normally slows down and embryo becomes inactive. That stage of the seed is called as the dormancy. Each and every seed compulsorily before seed germination passes through the period of dormancy, and that period of dormancy may vary from seeds to seeds. Now, if the conditions favorable for the germination are available, then that particular seed will germinate. So, when the seeds germinate, when it gets the favorable conditions. Now, what are the favorable conditions for the germination? So, it is adequate moisture, oxygen and suitable temperature. These are the three most important requirements for the seeds to germinate. Adequate moisture, oxygen and suitable temperature. So, these are the two different types of the seeds. This is a dicot seed and this one is the monocot seed. In a dicot seed, as you can see, these are the two cotyledons. This is the embryonic axis. The upper part of the axis is the plumule and the lower part of the axis is the radicle. And this one is the monocot seeds. So, in a monocot seed, the cotyledon is called as the scutellum, and the upper part is the shoot apex, or you can say epicotyle, and the lower part is the radicle surrounded by the coleorhiza, and shoot apex which is surrounded by the coleoptile, and this is the endosperm. So, that is regarding here, you know that the endosperm remains persistent, that is, it is not completely absorbed during the embryo formation, and in this structure you can see that there is no persistent endosperm. So, these are the two different types of the seeds, monocot and dicot. So, these are again the structure of the seeds. Basically, here you can see this is which type of seed. This is a monocot seed and here this is a dicot seeds. So, these are regarding the structure of the seeds. Now, the final stage of the post-fertilization event is the formation of the fruit. So, what develops into the fruits? Once the ovules get converted into seeds, what will happen? Ovary gets converted into the fruit. So, basically, fertilized ovary is called as a fruit. Now, basically, the wall of the ovary now will be called as the wall of the fruit, and that wall of the fruit is called as the pericarp. Now, we know that fruits, we have studied the classification of the fruits in 11th standard. So, we know that fruits may be fleshy or they may be dry. The examples of the fleshy fruits are guava, mango, orange, etc. And that of the dry fruits are coconut, mustard, etc. Now, there are some fruits in which apart from the ovary, thalamus contributes in the formation of the fruit. So, in some fruits, thalamus contributes to the fruit formation. Such fruits are called as the false fruit. Examples are apple, strawberry, cashew, etc. Whereas those fruits which forms only from the ovary, no other structure are involved, then such fruits are called as the true fruits. So, there are two types of the fruits. True fruits are the fruits which develops only from the ovary, and there are some fruits in which apart from ovary, the thalamus also contributes in the formation of the fruits. Such fruits are called as the false fruits. There are certain fruits which are developed without the process of fertilization. So the fruits which develop without fertilization, they are called as the parthenocarpic fruits. The example of the parthenocarpic fruits is banana. So basically this is a structure of the false fruits. So here you can see this part is this is an apple and this part is the thalamus. So basically the edible part of the apple is the thalamus and not the ovary. Basically this is a part of the ovary but that is not edible. The thalamus part of the fruit is edible. So this part is called as this type of fruit is called as a which type of fruit? It is called as a false fruit. This is a strawberry. Again the edible part of the strawberry is a thalamus. So there are two types of the fruits, true fruits and the false fruits. True fruits are the fruits which develops only from the ovary and false fruits are the fruits which develop from the ovary as well as the other parts of the flower like thalamus also contributes in the formation of the fruits. So now these are the parts of the flower before fertilization and what happens after the fertilization. Very important. So sepals, petals, stamen, style and stigma. These are the parts before fertilization. What happens to them after fertilization? So basically all these parts will fall off. We know that ovary gets converted into the fruits after fertilization. Ovule gets converted into the seeds after fertilization. Egg gets converted into the zygote after the fertilization. The funicle of the embryo sac gets converted into the stalk of the seeds. Micropyle remain as it is. So basically initially it is a micropyle of the ovule, but ovule got converted into seeds. So it is a micropyle of the seeds and this micropyle helps in the entry of the water as well as the oxygen. In certain cases nucellus is persistent and that persistent nucellus as we have studied it is called as the perisperm. Now integuments which of the ovule, we know that either the ovule consists of the two integuments or it may consist of the one integument. So if it have two integuments, the outer integument of the ovule becomes the outer seed coat which is called as the testa and the inner integument of the ovule becomes the inner seed coat which is called as the tegmen. Whatever synergids are present in the embryo sac, after fertilization they will degenerate. The secondary nucleus will form the endosperm and antipodals present they also will degenerate. So these are the changes which take place in the flower after the process of fertilization. Very important for the NEET as well as for your boards portion. Now special ways of reproduction. So one of the special way of reproduction is called as the apomixis. So what is apomixis? So basically we know that seeds are the result of fertilization. Basically ovules after fertilization gets converted into seeds. But apomixis is the production of the seeds without fertilization. So production of the seeds without fertilization is called apomixis and it is found in Asteraceae family as well as it is seen in certain grasses. So how this apomixis may take place? So it may develop if a diploid egg cell which is formed without the division develops into the embryo without fertilization. So suppose we know that egg cell normally is a haploid cell, but in certain cases the egg cell is not formed due to the meiotic division. Egg cell results by the formation of the mitotic division, and if such diploid egg cell is converted into embryo, then it will be basically a seed will be formed without the fertilization. So it may develop if a diploid egg which is formed without division develops into the embryo without the fertilization. Now the next one for the way of apomixis is if the cells of the nucellus may develop into the embryo. Now we know that the nucellus cells are diploid cells, and these diploid cells will form the embryo, and they will be later pushed inside the embryo cell. Example are citrus and mango. So that is apomixis, which means the production of the seeds without the process of fertilization. The another way of reproduction in the plant is polyembryony. Poly means many. Embryony. So if in an embryo set more than one embryo is formed, that condition is called as a polyembryony. So occurrence of more than one embryo in a seed, it is called as the polyembryony. So if more than one embryo sac is formed, how the many embryos can be formed? So suppose in an ovule, if more than one embryo sac are formed, then it may result in the formation of more than one embryo. Other cells like synergids or nucellus may also develop into the embryo. So this results in the formation of more than one embryo. Example, orange, lemon, mango, onion, groundnut, etc. So here we come to the end of our chapter polyembryony. Thank you, students.